Kim Kardashian don't believe the moon missions. We know is all a psyop because Kim is just, they using her to embarrass the movement, to embarrass moon mission deniers and, you know, flat earthers and stuff. You know, and they want to give Kim Kardashian a lot of airtime and publicity instead of flat earthers now, which is interesting. They're running from the flat earthers and real moon deniers, right? But they running right to Kim. But I'm going to make a point here with the Astronomer channel. You look at this video, right, and we observed this. I'll be re-uploading. We went over this already. The news showed this, right? And what the news wanted us to see is that this is footage of the moon mission and this is real, right? But I want to just briefly go over it for you one more time so you can see the bull crap for what it's worth. This is shot in like the 60s or the 70s. I'm not sure. It was shot during a time where we only had black and white TV. But here's something a lot of people, I want to keep my face on the screen. So this is what I'm going to do. This was shot when we had black and white TV. And a lot of people think, well, we had black and white TV. Ain't no way we had green screen during that time. That's where you're wrong. While everyone else had black and white TV, these people had color TVs because they are ahead of us, but I don't want to talk about color TV. I want to talk about green screen, and I want to give a shout out to Iconic View. Hey, Sanchez, sorry to bother, but I met your channel about 7 months ago, and you have changed my life. Thank you, bro. Thank you, Iconic View. And appreciate your support, and I'm so glad that you found us. Y'all show Iconic View some love in the chat room and welcome them to the family. Now, people, let's observe this. They showed this to respond to Kim Kardashian denying the moon landings. And they know that the world is so dumbed down that they can show this and get away with it with no one pointing out what I'm about to show now. Let's go. It's now, if you look at the astronaut, I'm going to play this slow. And you will notice that the astronaut appearing to be showing us a chroma key glitch. Chroma key glitches. I actually see last time we broke this down, we scrutinized it and we tore it apart. And I want to kind of do the same thing today, but I'll do something different. I want to show you what it looks like when you can see through people with green screen. Okay, this news lady is a good example, but not quite. What happens is people got these ghetto settings. They don't have their settings right in the chroma key. And if I find it, y'all gonna know what I'm talking about. I wonder if I can recreate it, but I don't have my green screen. I'm wondering if I can just show you with chroma key. Let me see what let me just try it on my end. Let me try something. I want to try to recreate this real quick, but I don't have my green screen though. So that, okay, I'm almost gonna get you though. This might work, y'all. Hold up a second. Hold on a second. I'm gonna show y'all what I'm talking about real quick. So ain't nothing behind me but blackness. Let me put a picture of something. Let's get a picture of the moon surface just for reference. Yeah, I know all of this seemed crazy, but when I go through this video in a minute, you'll see why I'm doing it. Let me say this. And I'm doing a shitty job of recreating what I'm about to show you. But I'm trying, man. I'm trying. The people that's coming in, they like, he's glitching. And I'm doing it on purpose. Let me get my little moon background. There we go. And I just want the rocks down here. We're going to do this like that. And then we're going to move it to the back. We're going to move it to the back. Because I kind of want to show you the glitch that you get. But see, this ain't really it. I'm doing a horrible job, but I'll explain to you what I'm trying to do here in a minute. I'm about to wrap this up now. Let me go ahead and come back into the camera view. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm showing y'all what it looks like if you play with green screen. Now, I don't have my green screen behind me, so again, it's a horrible example, but it gives you an idea. All right, so I know this seemed crazy, but the point is to show y'all how you can see the moon through me. I'm kind of like a ghost, right? I'm kind of like a ghost, and that's what I wanted to show you. Check this lady out. I'm gonna keep it muted, but you see what happened here? This ain't a perfect example, but I think it's good enough to give you an idea. You see her body? How it's glitched out because the green screen part of it, but some of it's still there. Now, this is a green screen trick, but this here is kind of different than what I'm about to show you. This can happen too, because your settings are off. It's happening on that because she's wearing green. And it's giving you an idea of what I'm trying to get you to see. But not quite, but good enough. Let's go to this video and you'll see why I brought that up. Look at the astronaut in here.
Why do people...
You see how he's translucent? You gotta look good because this is grainy and it's black and white. I'm gonna zoom in. As we look at the astronaut, what we're noticing, he's gonna be phasing in and out, becoming translucent as if someone's using green screen. And let's pay attention to that now.
So
parts of his body will fade in, parts, you see it even at the start. It's very obvious at the first beginning, so I would like to slow this down a bit more. Because it's very obvious. We went over this earlier. This is going to be important. I wanted to go back over this with a green screen example. Let's play this slow. It's coming up now. Wait for it. All right. Pay attention to the poles right here. You see this pole? This pole is going right through his body. Why am I seeing this pole through his body? Now, keep your eyes on this first pole right there. You see? You can see this pole through his body. People, this is green screen in the 60s. This is when we first learned green screen. You can see the flag poles through his body. Now, people want to know, why isn't that flag waving in the wind? It's because it's a still photo, which is why the astronaut is only jumping from left to right, and he won't go into the picture. He won't go into the background. We pointed this out on a previous show. I want to show you some here. Let's play this. You see how you can see this pole right through his body? That's green screen, people. It's a similar effect to what we see here, where you can see the map through this woman's body right here. See if I can zoom. Can't zoom that. But we can see the map through her body clearly. And clearly here we can see the pole through his body. So yes, they had green screen in the 60s and all of that. And back in the day, probably before that, you think they was going to tell everybody? If I'm going to be honest with you. It may seem evil. If I discover green screen before the whole world, I'm going to use it to trick people. They never heard of this kind of technology. You know how much money we can make with this technology? Somebody said, look, we can use this to fake anything. And buddy, they faked one of the biggest so-called accomplishments in history. If we went to the moon in the 60s, why can't we go back in 2025? Technology is better. Now watch him hop left to right. You can see the flagpole through the man's backpack in his body right here. All right? Look at him. He's translucent. He's fading away. His back is just fading away. It's so fake. And he's not going to go into the background, hop around left to right. Look, his body just became translucent. We can see the background through his legs right here. You can see the background through the man. Soon as he turn around, we can see the background through him. Look, we can see the whole, excuse me. Yeah. You can see this is like some predator. And I'm playing this for, where did his head go? We got the headless horseman now. The man head just faded away along with 30% of his upper body. Now all we got is a backpack and some back thigh muscles and some back calf. What happened to him? Green screen is what happened. Look at that. Where did he go? I can see the whole background. This is where his body should be, but I'm seeing the background through him. Take this back. They played this on the news, man. I can't believe this. And people didn't see this. He's phasing out. Look at there. Where did he go? Where did he go? This is a green screen glitch. We can do the same thing with this lady right here. We can make her fade all over. Certain angles will start to make the green screen chroma key get funky because you have these settings. They tell them, look, stand right here. Let's get the settings right. And they get the settings, and the settings are perfect. But what happens is once he go to moving around, it's at one set rigid settings amount with the chroma key. And they're not setting it while he's in motion. I use green screen. You set the settings and you sit there and talk. You don't say, well, I'm gonna be doing jumps and flips and all that, because if you do all that, then yeah, your stuff might glitch a little bit. But they using primitive green screen, and he's doing a lot. He's really pushing the capabilities of this technology, and it's showing with the glitches. And if you use green screen, you know what we're seeing here. Look, where the hell is he? Where did he go? All I see is a backpack and some half of some back legs. Other than that, we're looking through this man, y'all. And he won't walk toward the flag. Tell him go touch the flag. He gonna knock down that still photo. He just going left from right, left from right, left, right, left, right. Tell him to walk into the background. Shout out to Fela B. How did they fit that beach buggy on that ship? You know? Yeah, that's why the flag ain't waving. They told the people that they weighed the flag down with weights, and the people went for it. They literally said they put weights on the flag. That's why it ain't moving. It's a still photo in the background, and I mean, look at the astronaut. Where is he? We got half of a backpack, not even half of a backpack. 10% of a backpack, a slither of a backpack. And a slither, and it's letting me know that y'all got a bright ass light on the left side, but you ain't got a bright light on the right side. But again, we just learning green screen. This is the 60s. We just learning it. And they're saying this is good enough. You know why it's good enough? Because during this time, everybody that was using black and white TV was used to a horrible, crappy quality, glitches and grainy footage. So people in that time was just chunk this up as primitive glitches. You know, they're going to chunk this up as grainy, bad quality, when really they don't know it. In the 60s, we're looking at chroma key technology because it wasn't introduced yet. Now that we use green screen all the time and we go back and examine the moon mission videos, you can see that they was just using green screen with black and white. Which is why when I play the video, you're going to be able to see through the astronaut at the flagpole in the background. And the background is a still image, which is why the flag will not blow in the wind. And again, we can see the flagpole through his body. Now, this astronaut's supposed to be obscuring this first flagpole right here, but we can still see it clearly through his body. I mean, we can make it out clearly right through. That's chroma key right there, guys. That's green screen. There's no other way to explain it. There's no other way to explain it. I use green screen every day. I know why I can see the map through this woman's body. I know why I can see the map through her body. And I know why I can see the flagpole through his body. We'll do it one more time. We'll do it one more time. Pay attention to the first flagpole. And you're going to notice that if you're paying attention to this flagpole, when the astronaut walks past it, he's not going to obscure it. This astronaut is not a ghost, y'all. He should obscure it. But why doesn't he? There's only one way to explain it, and that's chroma key, green screen. His backpack should be blocking it, but again, his entire back is just chroma keyed out, even faded out. But his back will fade back in later. This is also a result of bad lighting. You got to understand why we would make these kind of mistakes. You got to keep in mind, green screen is brand new at this time. It's new. And the people that's using it, they see the glitches, but they also know they can get away with it because the technology at the time, people already expect glitches, grainy, bad quality. And it worked. No one thought to examine this in detail. And if they did, they wouldn't know what to call it because no one knew about chroma key back then. No one knew about green screen, had no clue about this technology whatsoever. Now listen, I wanted to play this so I can point out one thing. When you're using green screen, number one, your background is amazingly still. Like if I'm outside and there's a tree in the background, the tree won't move at all. And even if it's not that windy and it's not windy, the tree still should have a subtle, it should be some little motion in your background. You may say, well, ain't nothing going on right now. It ain't windy, boom, 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 but golly, perfectly still backgrounds is a red flag, people. I don't give a crap. That's a red flag. Secondly, if the person won't go into their background like I'm doing right now, if they won't go into their background like this, that's another red flag. That this may be a still image and I may be green screened into it. So pay attention to people that's only going left and right, and their background is amazingly still. I watched a lot of Ray's videos, and he's pushing the 3-eye atlas thing very hard. Now, he said he took these images, right, of 3-eye atlas. And one thing I got about his images of 3-eye atlas is Ray giving us an image of one little ball, and he's calling that 3-eye atlas. But that's not what the media is giving us. Let's pull up real photos. Photos of 3-eye atlas. So we get this little missile shape. Now, in some images, you get a perfect ball, right? And I'm like, what is this then? So my point is, why can't there be consistency in the images? And when there's not consistency, what we get is, well, people shooting it with different type of equipment. Japan shot this one, it shows a tail. Other people saying they took pictures of it, it don't have a tail. The biggest mystery with 3-eye atlas, and it seems like a psychological operation. Because they doing this on purpose. You may say, well, they lie so much they can't get their lie straight. No, they smarter than that. This a psyop. They want to see how far they can push this shit without no one. That's part of it too, you know. It's a survey. Think about it. There was a scientist put out a chorizo sausage. Later they came out and said it was a joke. But what they learned is we could have put that out and people wouldn't have known, they wouldn't have questioned it. So they learned something from that psyop. Number two, what they learned from it, we can come out and tell them what we did and they won't even care. They won't question nothing else. They'll still believe us. So that was a good psyop. You may wonder why these crazy stories come and go. They're psychological operations. People are gathering data about the way that the collective think and how we're going to react to certain things so that they can know in the future when they want to bring forth certain agendas, how far they can push the envelope, how ignorant, exactly how stupid are we? You want to know that if your deception lies in the people not questioning stuff and not paying attention. You want to have a tally to know, you know, how far can I go? We don't think like that because it ain't our job every day to get up controlling people and keeping them dumb. So, but it's a real thing. So we can't get consistent images of 3-eye atlas, but don't that sound familiar? We can't get consistent images of the globe either. A lot of people may say, Sanchez, you need to smoke some weed, my brother. You're too damn paranoid. You may be right, and maybe the weed make you paranoid, but I'll say this, man, it's so hard to tell what's real and what's fake nowadays. And I just question everything because guess what? I be on Facebook, I be on different sites, and I see posts. I see posts that get like 100,000 of views on them, and it may be a photo of a UFO landing on top of Giza or some shit, and it look real as hell, and people will be like, whoa, that's crazy. Why ain't nobody covering this? Shit have so many likes on it, so many comments, people to give the little emoji that's like, you know, and I'm like, this AI. And I go in the comments and I look for all the people that saying it's AI, and it just be a handful of them, and everybody else be biting on it. Is that just me? Do y'all go through that nowadays too? Because a lot of people say we entering a world where it's gonna be hard to determine what's real from what's fake. And I keep telling them, man, we already there. We've been there since the 60s, which is why people think we went to the moon. So I just question everything, man. And it's unfortunate. Because look at what just happened to our brother Ray. He caught the shit end of the stick. And it turns out the brother's legit. So it's crazy because it's like in the future, we're going to have to do human checks. And what that means is like, let's say AI want to, we're going to have to basically have certain ways to authenticate what's real and fake. Now, I don't know what that's going to look like. I was about to go and make up in some kind of system security, but I just can't. But I know that the higher ups are creating these problems so that they can have these solutions that I'm already thinking about, and they're going to have some kind of control with this. Because the first part of this video that what I wanted to really expose y'all to is how I investigate. It's certain stuff I look for, and I say, okay, that's fishy, this fishy. Now, a lot of people say, why does everything gotta be a conspiracy? Everything ain't a conspiracy, but if you don't treat everything the way I'm treating it, you won't know what's a conspiracy or not. That's right. When we start questioning everything, we're not saying everything is a conspiracy. We're treating everything as if it is so that we can clear it, because we're in a world of lies, and it ain't enough to not, we got to question everything, point blank, period. But it's a lot we're going to go over today, from symbolism. We're going to get into sacred geometry and all that. But shout out to Ray's astrophotography. I'm going to give Ray a break. But I will say that it still stands true that none of the astronomers are on the same page with what 3-Eye Atlas looked like. And one of the biggest, I would say, inconsistencies among astronomers is, does it have a tail or not? And you can't really be messing that one up. So here's my theory, because some of the images of 3-Eye Atlas show a tail. Some of the images don't show a tail. Here's my theory, right? I don't think they even thought about that when they put a lot of these psyops out. They just start putting out the propaganda, and later on they deal with the inconsistencies. Like in the case of the globe Earth, it's so inconsistent. Every country got a different image of what Earth looked like. So my point with 3-Eye Atlas is that right now they're having a big debate on, is it alien? Is it a natural comet? And that is because there's an inconsistency with the tail. Some people say it got a tail, some people say it don't. Some people say it have a tail sometime and the tail disappear, and the tail come and go. That's what A.V. Loeb was kind of saying. He was saying that can be proof of some kind of propulsion technology. You know, because if a rocket have a tail that goes away and come back and go away, then somebody can be hitting a boost button, like a turbo boost, like propelling it in the directions, steering it. So the narrative behind Three Eye Atlas and the tail may be just a bunch of made up stuff to explain away the inconsistencies in the photos. That's right. That's one theory. You feel me? Because if you got certain people putting in photos with a tail and certain people ain't putting a tail, and then again, all of this can be orchestrated for a big psyop to see how we reacting as well, like to keep the lines blurred between whether it's alien or asteroid, and to just not be definitive on that, keep that open loop. And that's another psyop in and of itself. You know what I'm saying? And then, because you got a situation, you don't have to be definitive. You can kind of be straddling the fence on what this thing is. You can keep it vague. It's a perfect situation to make shit up as you go and to basically plan based upon how we respond. You know what I'm saying? As you go. But one thing I'll say about Ray, his form of photography, in my opinion, is still false. It's still, because here's what my thing is. Ray and these guys, they go to a website. The website tell them, if you go in the sky, if you go outside and point your telescope at this coordinate points, boom, they can dial in on it. You'll see Three Eye Atlas is gonna be this star right here. And people find it. They dial it in and they see a star in the sky that look like every other star in the sky. And when they're looking at it, it's not moving, it's just sitting there. Because listen what I'm telling you. They're not out there with their telescope like this. Uh-oh, look at Three Eye Atlas. It's there it go. Because if it's moving, right? No, they out there like this. The star is fixed. Watch this. If Three Eye Atlas was just behind the sun in October, it's only been 1 month, and you telling me it done passed Mars and is near Earth now to the point where Ray can take a picture of it like this. That thing moving fast as hell, bro. If you can get from behind the sun to Earth in 1 month, you know how long it'll take us to get to the sun? That's 93 million miles away. Three Eye Atlas is moving fucking fast. You shouldn't be able to put your telescope on it and just sit there for hours as if it's a fit star. Think about that. So that's what I'm saying about why don't astronomers think about that? So, because I'm going to tell you something. I believe Three Eye Atlas is just a normal star in the sky, man. A normal star. Nothing fancy. This what I'm going to do, though. See, I don't got the fancy stuff Ray got, but I'm going to take this little fella, brand new, to my collection. I retired the OG over there, but look, to take this, and I'm gonna find Three Eye Atlas, I promise you. And when I dial it up, right, I'm gonna dial up Three Eye Atlas myself. I'm gonna take my own pictures of it, right? And I'm gonna keep my telescope locked in on it for a day or two. And I'm going to keep coming out and I'm going to see if it's still there in the same spot. Because if I keep coming outside and I keep seeing 3-eye Atlas locked in on the same spot like a fixed star, and they saying, it in the move near Jupiter now. That can't be true. Because if you got a telescope, you know that Jupiter will be over there, or over there, or over there. And you locked in on 3-eye Atlas the whole time. It ain't moved. It's right there. I ain't touched it. Boom. I believe if someone do this, they'll see 3-eye Atlas is probably just a fit star. This is a theory. This is my theory. But I'm going to test my theory. I'm going to test my theory. Trust me. Test it. Waiting for the right day. Yeah, I'm going to test that. Now, look. I'm just pouring all of my little thoughts out to y'all real quick. Now, let me look at the chat real quick. Shout out to Earthy Truth. And shout out to Fela B. All right. Back to it. Yeah, astronomy is a scam. Because it's all digital. Basic astronomy ain't a scam. Mainstream astronomy. Most people don't even observe the sky like the ancients. They just listen to what someone tell them is happening up there. And then we react to it. But let me explain something to y'all real quick about the sky. We talking about astronomy now. I want to go into like the deeper aspect of astronomy with cosmology. So remember that the ancients had 360 days in a year, and they had 12 months, and they had 30 days per month, and that give you perfect 360. They observed 360 days in a solar year. The sun appeared to move about 1 degree per day. So that would give you a perfect 360 circle, which would be a year. They used sexagesimal base 60 math. They divided the 360 into equal parts using 6, 12, 24, 30, and 60. Tesla told you about the numbers 3, 6, 9. All of those are divisible by 360, but we about to go deep because Tesla knew how the sky worked. The system of 360, remember now, a circle is 360 degrees, not 365. When we want to talk astronomy and astrology, we got to start here first with geometry. Right. When we talk about the knowledge of the heavens, you won't even understand the positioning of the stars if you don't understand that the sky is mapped out on a wheel, a perfect circle, like the zodiac wheel and like a natal chart. But let's go deep. This kind of system assumes the heavens from a perfect circle or dome or wheel rotating over a fixed flat earth. The 360 degrees was both a time and space measurement. 1 day equals 1 degree of solar movement. That equals 1 out of 360 of a full celestial rotation. In this worldview, everything in the heavens moves above the earth, not around it. So no spherical geometry is needed. It's planar geometry, circles and arcs on a dome, which is, if you look at any mosque, you can see the secrets of this is embedded on the Muslim mosque, where they have the circles and arcs giving you the coordinate points of the firmament dome. Let me just show you that. Here it is right here. If you look at the dome, it has this brick pattern on it. And that's because the sky is mapped out, man, like a grid. So when they talk about the sky map, this literally what they talking about the firmament dome. There's coordinate points where I can go and locate any constellation, any star with math. You can, just like on the ground, you can give me grid point coordinates. We can use that in the sky to locate objects, celestial objects. And the only way you can do that is because of this 360 sesquidecimal math that the ancients used, that the firmament is based upon. If we're in a dome, right, for you to divide that up in a grid system, it'll look just like what we see here. But how would that relate to the ground? Let me show you. The same coordinate system that we see for the firmament dome, we follow that same coordinate system on the ground, as above, so below. So what we're looking at is the flat earth map. And in the middle of this would be the peak of the dome, the tip. This little pole right here, that's 0. You see the O right there? That's 0 degrees. All numbers come from that. And you get the grid point coordinate system. Everything we doing on the ground is because the sky is creating a grid point coordinate system on the ground. Just like this. It's like a shadow being casted. And a lot of people ain't gonna really understand what I mean by that, which is why I'm gonna take my time today and I'm gonna pull up screen shares as needed. So let me get the next one. Check this out. Think of being under a teepee. So this teepee is making a dome over you, capping you in. But what would that shadow look like on the ground? What would this, because it's a 3-dimensional dome, but it'll create a 2-dimensional shadow on the ground. So basically, this 3-dimensional firmament dome arch, the coordinate system that we see on the dome, when it's reflected onto the ground, it becomes a flat coordinate system that we use to navigate on a flat earth. But as above, so below. All of the coordinate points on the ground correspond to coordinate points in the dome, all the way to the 0 point in the middle of the dome, what we call in the North Pole, right? So the firmament dome is, all of these lines are like a bunch of TP sticks. As they fall away from the center, they descend. As they go toward the center, they rise up, creating this right here. And that in returns create, if you think of how that shadow would look, you know, it'll look just like this when you start wrapping the. So like we just said, right? This right here is based upon arcs and planes. Arcs and planes. It's not based upon spherical geometry, and it's based upon planar geometry. And that's exactly how we navigate. That's how we use compasses. That's how the zodiac works. The natal charts works. We finna go into that. Shout out to Child Care. Shout out to you, man. So we had 6 days a week, y'all. All right. What you got to realize is we got 7 days a week today. But there was no Saturday. Okay. Saturday is Sabbath day. But you had Moon Day, which is Monday. Tuesday is dealing with Mars, I think. Wednesday is dealing, each of these days is dealing with a goddess or a god that's over a different planet. And Friday is Freya, Wednesday is Woden, which is Odin. Thursday is Thor, right? Monday, moon. Sunday, sun. And then you had the wandering. The sun and moon are part of the planetary system, the wandering stars. So when you looking at a natal chart and you looking at all the planets on a natal chart, you notice that Earth ain't on there because Earth ain't a planet. Earth is an infinite plane with the stars and all that going around us. So Earth ain't a planet. So even when you dealing with astrology, the zodiac wheel, you notice that it's geocentric. And we finna get into that in a minute. So the ancients had 360 days based upon the sun making a 360-degree circuit, right? Based upon what the sky doing in macro is turning very slowly, like a carousel. So you got the sun doing its thing and the sky doing its thing, and that's what's giving us time, micro and macro. The Mayans had a very simple way of keeping track of this motion. But it was so perfect, man. Everything we doing today is out of alignment with the natural math that governs the earth. 365 days, 7 days a week. That's to make us think that the universe isn't intelligently designed. Because if you got perfect math, that lets us know there was a creator or an intelligent designer behind it when you using these numbers that Tesla was using, 360, all of these numbers that's divisible by 360 and stuff. So they had 360 days, because if you want to know, before I even go any deeper, I want to show you something. Remember this now. This is a 360-degree circle, right? And when we say that the sun is progressing through the zodiac 1 degree per day, what we're saying is that the background behind the sun is turning real slow like a carousel. And it takes 360 days for the sky to reset to the point where it started back at. That's a year. Complete cycle, right? So the sun is doing this every day around the flat earth. It's giving us each day. But while the sun doing this, the sky above it is turning real slow. So you got to think the sky turning real slow up here, boom. But the sun is like somebody running in circles on a merry-go-round. So the merry-go-round is turning real slow. But while the merry-go-round turns slow, I'm doing fast circles on the merry-go-round. And every circle I do is a day. That's the sun. But the merry-go-round turning so slow, it's going to take the merry-go-round 360 days, right? And in the time that it take the merry-go-round to do a full circle, the sun would have ran 360 circles on the merry-go-round. 360 days. Perfect synchronicity, perfect math. This is literally how the sky works. Now watch this. You got 24 time zones. You got 12 zodiac. To the right, we got 12 zodiac. To the left, we got 24 time zone. If you was to put this over the AE map, each zodiac would eat up 2 time zones, right? You see that? And I'm kind of doing it now so you can see it. You see that the triangles that make the zodiac wheel are bigger than the ones that make the time zones. And guess what? Every 2 time zones share the same zodiac. That's true. You can go on this. Listen, everything I'm showing you, you can go outside and put this to the test. That on our flat earth, And I'm not saying this is a line perfect, because I probably will have to rotate this wheel to see exactly, where each constellation is right now over each continent. But if I align these right and you go outside, you'll look up, you will see, damn, okay, Libra and Scorpio is in, you would say these two time zones are in Libra. Wow, those two time zones are in Scorpio. And you will see two time zones each will all share one constellation. That's true. Shout out to Terrell Johnson. If the world wasn't a simulation, then how did all the animals get to remote islands like Hawaii? Shout out to Terrell Johnson, putting some food for thought on y'all's mind. And shout out to Joseph Welch. I didn't see you, man. Thank you so much for the support. Now watch this, people. Watch this. It's very simple, because for every two time zones, there's one zodiac over them. And that's just a fact. That proves right here, y'all, that the 360-degree math that the ancestors use to make the zodiac wheel, the natal charts, and all that, it can't work if the earth was a globe. And all that stuff is geocentric. It was made with the idea that the earth is fixed and that everything is revolving around you. But I'm not done. Let's get some more information. So, when the Greek and later Roman astronomers formalized the heliocentric spherical Earth model, they noticed that they had to have leap year and all that to make up for their flaws. You know, their year is like 365.24 days, and it have to be based on their model. The sun's apparent motion along the ecliptic is not really 1 degree per day. It's like negative 90.9 something. So they getting rid of the perfect math. We didn't have no irregularities or remainders. Everything was perfectly divisible by 360. That's why we got 12 months. So with those 12 months, we had 6 weeks. And let me give y'all some basic math real quick. You had, I said 6 weeks, 6 days. You had 6-day weeks. And if you divide 360 divided by 6, we would have had 60 weeks per year. So we would have had 360 days a year, 12 months, 30 days each, 60 weeks, 6 days a week. It was perfect math that divided perfectly. You didn't need a leap year. Everything was perfectly synced and in harmony on the ground with what the sky is doing. And that spiritual, man, we're out of whack today. Our mode of operations on the ground was always in alignment with this sacred, perfect math of the heavens, which is why people were saying, as above, so below, let thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. People was trying to live by this perfect code of 360. 360 is reciprocity, it's balance. You see what I'm saying? It's perfection. But instead of a perfect 360-day circular system, spherical geometry introduced irregularities. So when the Earth's orbit became elliptical, according to the Freemasons, not perfectly circular, then these irregularities come forth. In this geometry, 360 degrees is retained as a mathematical convenience, but is no longer directly tied to the sun's daily movement. It's now just an arbitrary division of a sphere into angular degrees. And that don't really fit what we see outside. So the modern heliocentric models still use 360 degrees when they're talking about the motion of the sun, when they're talking about the zodiac time. Is all based upon geocentrism and 360. But if you go to them and say, does that prove flat earth? They will say no, and we're only using that for mathematical convenience. Now go look up the terms in science called mathematical convenience. It means using a number, a system, or a unit because it makes math easier to work with, not because it's physically exact. So they say we're using y'all numbers. They basically say today, yes, we use the same math that the ancients use, but that shit ain't right. We just using it for convenience. How can it be convenient for you to use if it ain't right?
Stupid.
That's like saying, yeah, I'm a copy off your homework paper. 2 + 2 is 5. And I'm using it for convenience. That's not convenience if I'm getting the answer wrong. Obviously, my answer must be right if it was convenient for your ass to use it. So 2 + 2 is 4, and that's why you copied my answer. You don't copy off a person paper because they got the answer wrong. I didn't make this term up, y'all. Go look it up. I didn't make this up. They created this term when they changed the math from the ancient 360 to the modern globe 365 days. They created this term because they needed a way to explain why do y'all keep using the ancient math, but you saying the ancients were wrong. Well, that's just mathematical convenience. And when you look up what that means, it means, yeah, we using the ancients' math and the ancients' numbers and their system. That's because it makes it easier to work with, but that don't mean it's right. Go look it up. Everything based on the ancient math of the sky, the ground, the way we navigate and everything, compasses and all that. But when you bring it up and you say, so isn't the earth flat then? No, silly. We only using that stuff because it's convenient. That don't mean it's right. You can't make this up, folks. Can't make this up. So I ain't gonna really go deep into all of these numbers because I already got a documentary that I'm gonna upload shortly after this stream, in probably a week or two here, because it's a lot of stuff to edit, but it's gonna be worth the while. But I do got some stuff that I want to go over because, let's see here. Hold on, everybody. So yeah, you can have a 6-day week system, right? And that'll give you 60 weeks a year, because 6 times 60 will be 360. Or you can have a 9-day week. So the Mayan got like these long counts and short counts where some people think they're dividing up the years differently, but it's all based on 360, which is why it's a series of circles, concentric circles coming from the center. The god of time was called Saturn, but before they turned Saturn into Satan, this is what I want to show you. Saturn or Satan was a symbol in the ancient world to symbolize the sky, the firmament dome. Here it is right here. So what you got is a god in the middle of these rings. This is the Mayan version of Saturn, the god of time. And this is the Mayan universal calendar. And they got their god in the middle of it. And that was just an archetype showing the true self at the middle of time, outside of time. The way out is in. Because think about this. The ancestors were saying all of these rings right here is like a tornado vortex. It's like a tornado vortex. And the peaceful place is in the middle of a tornado. So if you're born in the walls of a tornado, and they basically, the ancestors were saying you're journeying toward the center of the tornado, and there's a peaceful spot there. The hole in the middle of the tornado is where they have this deity leaving the earth realm. And basically, all of these circles around that person represents time. Time, and it represents cycles of time, layers of time, and different parallel realities. So you can divide, you'd say, okay, well, science say, well, a year on this planet is this many days, but a year on that planet is that many days. Well, what the Mayans said was each one of these circles was a parallel reality based upon the same 360-degree math system, right? That on some of these parallel worlds, they was really dividing time like in, let's say, a 9-day week. You can have 9-day weeks, right? And if you got a 9-day week, what's 360 divided by 9? 40. You will have 40 weeks a year. So you can have 60 weeks a year and have 6 days a week, or you could have 9 days a week with 40 weeks a year. But what I'm saying is, I believe my research is telling me that each of these circles on the wheel is expressing the same 360-degree math in its own way, because all of these numbers are divisible, whether you have a 9-day week, 6-day week. Shit, you can have a 3-day week if you want to, right? But long as it's divisible by 360, you would have no problem keeping track of time and what the sky doing. It made everything so easy with no irregularities. But when the Europeans, I wouldn't just blame it on the Europeans, when the oppressors, when they saw this system, they demonized it and they turned this into Satan or Saturn. And now we lost all of this knowledge because the word Saturn is equivalent to Satan in the modern world. And basically Satan or Saturn was an archetype for the god of time. What I mean by archetype, meaning it ain't a real thing or a real person. It's the embodiment of a universal concept. In this case, they're personifying time as a person to tell a story of how time works and how it divides perfectly and all that. So you will find a lot of these numbers associated with different gods and deities for that reason as well. But let me go back here. See, each triangle that you see on an AE map is a time zone, and each time zone is 15 degrees, right? These are 15-degree angles that's creating each one of these time zones on the AE map, and it's 24 of them. So if you do 15 times 24, what do you get? 360. Because the earth is a perfect 360 circle, which is why the Bible said, he who sat above the circle of the earth. Circle, not sphere. The Bible know its shapes. It know its shapes. So all of this is just perfect. Is harmony, mathematically, math-wise. No one can get this wrong in the ancient world. Navigating, keeping time. You didn't need clocks and stuff because this was so embedded into your mind that we was able to look at the sky and stars like like how we look at Google Maps today. So the ancients were able to get around wherever they wanted to, when they wanted to. And they didn't need technology, even though they had technology. Let's talk about something else, right? You know that when I say everything we do is divisible by 360, right? It's 24 hours in a day, right? Now let's do 24. Let's do 360 divided by 24. 15. Now listen, you may say, well, damn, 360 divided by 24 hours in a day is 15. But Sanchez, what does that 15 correspond to? It corresponds to the 15 degrees of every time zone. That's right. I just told you that. It's 24 pie slices. Each one is 15 degrees. This math wouldn't add up if the earth wasn't flat, y'all. And if the sky wasn't a dome. If all of this wasn't real, you wouldn't even be able to have, think about this, right? Why do you think we got 60 seconds for a minute, 60 minutes for an hour? 60 is divisible by 360. It all got to be, all of that, like if you was living on a globe, you wouldn't even have 60 minutes and 60 seconds. Because that is sexagesimal system of math don't apply to spherical geometry or leap year or a circle being 365 degrees. I'm gonna expound, don't worry. 360 degrees is the labeling. Think about this, right? The thing is this right here. On a globe model, they use 360, they use like 90-degree angles. But remember, 90 divides perfectly into 360. So on a flat earth, north, south, east, and west would also correspond to 90-degree angles. We ain't talking about, see, I know this gonna confuse a lot of y'all. Because north, south, east, and west represent counterclockwise, clockwise, in and out. Be on the lookout for my lecture on this. I'm gonna go deep into it. But when you talk about the 4 90-degree angles that make the 360, it corresponds to the 4 cardinal directions. When navigators say 90 degrees east or 90 degrees west, they're thinking like they're on a clock. Because if I tell somebody, hey man, 3 o'clock, they know that's your right. If I say, hey, 9 o'clock, left, right? So your 6 is what? Behind me. When the police say, hey, watch my 6. Y'all using flat earth terminology. Y'all using words as if you're on a circle, a clock face, which we are. When we say 90, you know, the math must be divisible by 360. That's the key foundation. All right. Hold on a second. Hold on 1 minute. I lost where I was. Yeah, I got you. Here's this where I'm at now. So the ancients saw the sun make a complete 360-degree circuit through the heavens in 1 year. They divided that circle into 12 equal sections, which are called the zodiac houses. Let me pull this up while I read to y'all so you can have a visual of this instead of looking at me read. So each month is 30 days. We went over that. The zodiac is a celestial circle divided into 12 houses of 30 degrees each. That's the one on the left. And each of those zodiac houses is made out of two 15-degree time zones on the right, above it. You can picture this wheel above that flat earth and you'll see what we're doing. And you would be able to label these. You would say, hey, when we go from Aries to Taurus, we going from 0 to 30 degrees. And you can just go your way around this whole circle like that. You can say, okay, we going from Taurus to Gemini. That's going from 60 degrees to 90 degrees. And keep on moving from Cancer to Leo, 90 degrees to 120 degrees. Every time I move over into another zodiac house, I add 30 degrees because each house is 30 degrees. And when I make a full circle, that's going to equal 360 degrees that I travel around the whole circle. That's what the sun doing. The sun is doing that in a year, but the sun ain't doing that per se. That's what the sky behind the sun is doing. It's moving 1 degree a day. And so that sky gonna make a full circle in 360 days if each day is 1 degree of motion from the sky. Now the sun is doing it's moving fast. It's going around this thing every day, giving us a 24 hours. And like I said, if the sky is a big slow merry-go-round, then the sun is just on that merry-go-round running in circles, giving us every day. But the merry-go-round will take a year to make a complete circle, loop. And by that time, the sun will have been ran 360 laps around the whole thing. It's so perfect, man. It's so perfect. It's so simple. So the earth, or not the earth, I should say, the celestial dome rotates 360 degrees. Hold on a second. My bad. I'm reading the wrong thing here. Let me see where I'm at in my notes real quick. Hold up, y'all. So in modern astronomy, models will tell you that Earth is a planet orbiting the sun, and that the zodiac is just a background of distant stars. That's what we're taught in modern science. Earth is just a planet orbiting the sun, and that all of the stars or the zodiac or constellations in the sky, basically what we call the zodiac, is just the background of distant stars in space. And Earth is just another planet orbiting the sun. So in the modern scientific model of the universe, they don't really take astrology serious. They will tell you it's symbolic and not literal. But the ancients took it serious, and astrology and astronomy went hand in hand, right? In traditional astrology, the system that's been used for thousands of years, it makes one thing unmistakably clear. Astrology starts from Earth as the center. But why? A natal chart, let's pull up a natal chart. Here's a natal chart. This is geocentric. Now, if you look at the middle of a natal chart, what do you see? You see the symbol of the earth, people. Let's pull it up. This is a natal chart. It got the sun, moon, and all of the planets going around the earth. Sanchez, I don't see the earth at the middle of that natal chart. That's where the symbolism come into play. Let's pull it up. Go pull up the earth symbol. What is the symbol for earth? Remember, Jesus is the earth god, right? He's personifying the earth. So you'll see this symbol on Jesus too. Shout out to my brother Awakening Minds. Loving all the breakdowns, fam. Salutes, check this out too. You cooking, and it all goes back to the seed of life also. Show for show. So here is the symbol of the earth. Right here. Ancient symbol of the earth. Right here, it's just a circle with a plus sign in it. It ain't nothing spectacular. But I just want to show it to you. Familiarize you with it. So yeah, there go the earth symbol. Right there. And if you look at a natal chart, you'll see that the earth is in the middle of it. You notice earth ain't nowhere on his wheel, man. People think that they're on a ball orbiting the sun. But if that was true, the sun would be in the middle of this natal chart and the earth would just be another planet going around the sun. The natal chart is not heliocentric, it's geocentric. That's right. And you know what's crazy about natal charts? You got a lot of people making money, read natal charts, and they think they on a globe and they just ripping people off. You cannot even begin to get into astrology and natal chart reading if you don't even know the earth flat. That's right. You fake. You ain't even connected to the ancients. You ain't tapped into nothing. You give this false prophets, man. Cleo the psychic type shit. You looking at a natal chart and you don't see earth nowhere on there. Why? Because earth ain't a planet, man. Earth ain't a planet. That's right. This whole chart was made to revolve above Earth, and the Earth is at the Earth is at the center of the universe. Everything is geocentric that when we navigate compasses, all that. Everything is geocentric. But we finna, hold on a second. All right. Lost my spot. Hold up, y'all. Know how I keep doing this. My bad. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I got my spot back. So look, let's go back to this picture. And let me continue to read. So astrology is 100% geocentric, right? Because a natal chart is based upon your location on Earth, the horizon around you, and the zenith above you. The positions of the sun, moon, and stars is relative to you as the observer. Astrology only works if Earth is the fixed reference point and the sky rotates above us. You don't cast a birth chart from the sun's perspective. That's right. And you would have to if the sun was at the center of this system. You don't cast a chart assuming that you're flying through space at 66,000 miles per hour. Everything in astrology and astronomy assumes a fixed Earth, a revolving dome of heavens, a 360-degree wheel overhead, time and geometry measured from your position in the center. That's geocentrism, not heliocentrism. Natal charts use 360 degrees because the sky itself is a 360-degree wheel. A natal chart is literally a circle divided into 12 houses of 30 degrees each. Let's pull it up. Now, keep in mind, two people that, hold on, let me do one thing at a time. Where's my natal chart? Get a picture of a natal chart. Actually, we can just use this one. But I wanted to show you one like with something like this or something. Yeah, so these are your, just different forms of them. People talk about, I got a moon in this house, I got this in that house. You can't have houses on the globe, bro. Because the houses on your natal chart, 12 houses correspond to the 12 zodiac. You would need 24 zodiac on a globe Earth. They trying to wrap this zodiac right here around a ball, and then they create the celestial sphere. But I'm going to debunk the celestial sphere in my upcoming documentary. So the 12 houses is corresponding to 12 zodiac signs. And that's 360 degrees ecliptic. Everything rotates around you, the observer. And people was getting put to death for teaching this. If you taught that Earth was at the center and that everything goes around you. People say to this day, you think the sun and moon revolves around you? That's church programming. They was killing people. They was killing people. You think the sun and moon revolves around you? If you ask an ancient person that, they will literally look you in your face and say, yeah, I'm quite sure that it does, my dear. Actually, and I can prove it for you right now that it's my world. I'm at the center of the universe and all of that. Man, that shit revolves around me, baby. Ancient people talk, that's exactly what they taught. They turned that into something egotistical now. So you telling me you think the sun and moon revolves around you? Come on, man. Check your ego, man. But it's literally the facts. But that's the programming that was getting people put to death. It's the same program. You got to be egotistical to think we're alone. Now, we can't prove that aliens exist. So it wouldn't be being egotistical, it'll be being truthful. And what they equated a person being truthful to being egotistical, like the Gnostics were the knowers. How did they combat that? They programmed people to say, oh, that go to know-it-alls. Now, wouldn't you love to meet someone that knew everything? That's why y'all like AI, right? That's why you hooked the ChatGPT, right? But the church are so good with reverse psychology. People literally walk this earth. They knew everything there was to know here. I know that sounds crazy. The Mayan knew everything you could possibly learn about this earth. Knowledge here ain't infinite. It's limited, meaning you get so much knowledge here and it ain't no more to get. You literally got to transcend this place and go to higher realms to seek more knowledge. That's right. Because this realm don't have a surplus or infinite amount of knowledge available. It's limited. Now, the whole thing is this right here. The ancients knew everything there was to know about this reality. They had transcended this place like a school that I graduated from, and I'm waiting to go off into the real world. You know what I'm saying? So these people had learned everything in school, and their death was graduation. And if you don't learn everything you need to learn here, you come back. So I assume that the ancients did not reincarnate. They learned all there was to know here. Now, somebody lied to y'all and said, you can't know everything. That's the devil. You can learn all the mysteries about this place and about the here before and the hereafter. Guess what? That's everything, man. That's right. That's literally it, dog. That's it, man. That's everything. How the sky work, what the earth is, what I am, where was I before I came here, what happens when I die. What else is it than that? They try to make it like it's so damn deep and so much. It's simple. Life is simple, man. That's right. It was very simple to the ancestors. And they had a lot of reverse psychology to combat the awakening, and we still using a lot of that stuff today. So remember that you can't have houses on a globe. If the earth was a spinning planet in space, houses would be meaningless. Horizon lines would distort. Angles like the ascendant would not work. Anybody do natal charts know about the ascendant and the descendant. These wouldn't work with spherical geometry with the heliocentric model. It's geocentric based. The sidereal zodiac timing would collapse if that model was true. Retrograde motion would make no geometric sense. It wouldn't. When we say, well, Mercury is in retrograde, they said, well, it appears that Mercury is actually moving, backwards or whatever. No, it don't appear that way. It's literally happening. And we can feel it on an astrological level because during Mercury retrograde, there are certain phenomena that's consistent. It take place on a spiritual level, energy-wise. Mercury affects communication. Astrology works because the heavens move around a stable center, represented by this symbol of the earth in the middle of the natal chart. And so if you even think about, well, I don't want to even go into the Kabbalah tree of life too heavy, but if you think about the Kabbalah tree of life, it is geocentric as well. You can't practice Kabbalism with spherical geometry and heliocentrism. The tree of life is not just a mystical symbol, it's an ancient cosmic map. And each of these wandering stars correspond to one of our chakras, okay? Which is the whole foundation of astrology. In heliocentrism, they deny the existence of chakras. You got a lot of people that believe in the globe model in space, and they practice astrology. They read natal charts, but they are misaligned and they need to come on back home to the ancestors. It will bring more validity and clarity to their craft. They are following an institution that shits on everything they respect. Astrology, natal chart reading, that's based upon ancient geocentrism and the math of 360 degrees. When people who deal with astrology say that the luminaries affect our behavior and personality, they need to realize that the scientist that is giving them the globaler model don't agree with that. Physics don't acknowledge astrology and planets giving you certain energy and frequencies. That's pseudoscience to them. So I'm calling my astrologers home. That's right. I'm calling my natal chart readers back home. Let me give you some more here. So in Kabbalah, the heavens are 7 circles. I'll show them to you. I got this one guy video queued up. Here he go right here. His name is Morg Official. And he damn near got 1 million subs, but he's a globe earther. And to me, I don't trust him because he deal with a lot of symbolism, but he try to make it fit like from a globaler perspective. He don't get into the shape of the earth, but he says stuff like this. I'm gonna show you, for example, because right now, right, each of these coins, right, is a chakra or one of the 7 wandering stars. You see is 7 of them, right? And this Kabbalah tree is just the Babel Tower. Bala is Baal, the god Baal. But let me show you what the Kabbalah tree is. See, he deals with a lot of these symbols, but everybody, they ain't really all the way in. They like halfway in, halfway out. It ain't really good for the ancestors. See, when you pull up flat earth cosmology is right here. Here go flat earth cosmology right here. Tree of life with the 7 worlds or the 9 worlds going around it. This flat earth. Earth in the middle, just like we see on the natal chart. You see the circle of the earth right here in the middle and all the planets going around it. Each one is in their own angle. That's how you get. Let me go back to this. Look at this. Earth in the middle with all of the planets branching out from the tree. The reason they going around Earth because they're magnetically connected to Earth, just like they say with the sun. See, this is the real solar system. And what they trying to tell you is that the sun is in the middle and all of the other planets is gravitationally locked to the sun's energy, making them orbit the sun. But that's backwards. It's the earth in the middle. And at the middle of the earth is a magnetic pole. And that magnetic pole is why none of these luminaries, wandering stars, can break free. They're going to keep circling around the earth because they are connected to the earth like a tree trunk and branches, which is why I'm showing you this image right here. This is what we're in. And there's a realm above our earth right here called Asgard. Now notice when you look at Asgard, what's the difference between Earth and Asgard? Asgard is above time. Sanchez, what do you mean it's above time? Let's go back to Earth. If you look at Earth, time is created by the motion of the heavens, the spinning of these luminaries around the earth plane. It's aging you. The sun and moon, every day they turn around you, you getting older and older. In this underworld, you exist within time. You're in the middle of a system that's aging you, right? As these things spin around you, they're stripping away the veil over time. Now look, once you rise up here, There is no time. There is no circular bodies orbiting you, aging you in a matrix of parallel universes, right? The reason you're aging, right, is because the earth realm that you're in right here is one of many. In other words, when we die, according to many ancients like the Nordic people here, we don't go straight up to Asgard. We go through each of the luminaries first, and then we go up to Asgard. Because what's happening is this. You are right here in the earth in Midgard, but each of these wandering stars is like a mirror. It's reflecting you in a parallel world. So think of these like revolving mirrors. And in order for your soul to break free from the underworld, you gotta smash all of these mirrors because your reflection is being harvested. Now, there is folklores about this. If you ever heard stories about Bloody Mary, Candyman, they tell stories about the ghost that's trapped in the mirror. One of my favorite covers was from Jordan Peele. He did the Get Out movie. And when he say get out, he's telling you to get out the simulation. But if you look at the cover of this, he's showing you what the universe is. The universe is like a piece of glass that was broken the moment you was conceived. You was conceived at the middle. At the middle of the earth, you broke into reality. You smashed and you basically came into existence. You was conceived in this realm at the middle. And at that point, all of the magnetic ley lines branched outward from you. So if you can picture yourself in the middle of that AE map right here, with all of the magnetic ley lines branching out for you, basically this spider web pattern is like a glass break pattern. If you smash a glass, the pattern you'll get, it'll look like the zodiac wheel. So it ain't a random pattern. It's a common pattern, get out. But see, the thing is when we the ones that pierced the veil with conception. Piercing the veil, it made this opening that you see in the middle right here. And you're standing in the middle. The real you is standing in the middle of the universe. And all the fake yous are being reflected outward in each of these glasses of shards, just like Jordan Peele showing us. So if the real him is in the middle right here, and he be reflected on each one of these little pieces of glass, and each piece of glass represent a parallel reality where he living out a whole nother life. And he got to free himself from each one of those by smashing that glass. Now, look, if you think that's something I'm making up, because a lot of people think that I be making up stuff, I'm going to show you the ancients too. This Hunab Ku is them telling you the same thing. The same thing about conception is also the cardinal directions is represent the flat earth and all that. But let's look at the Tibetan wheel. You can literally see it more clearly here where they get the Get Out movie cover from. It's based upon cosmology. Jordan Peele is telling us to get out of the simulation. So here is the Tibetan way of showing you the simulation. And here again, Satan or Saturn, which is an archetype to represent your journey within time, within the multiverse here. So in each of these little triangles, you're living out a parallel reality. You can see the Buddha reflected in each world as a different version of himself. Right here, you see the blue Buddha. You see the white Buddha there. You go in this one, we got a red Buddha. In each world, Buddha is holding something different, and he's wearing something. They're teaching you about the parallel realities that are all born from the middle base world. which is right here in the middle, right? And they took this and turned it into the Get Out cover here. But it's a lot of people showing you the truth. Like I said, get out of time, get out of this vortex of energy, this hurricane. This thing is spinning. Think of your consciousness, right? Like a roulette ball. Let me just show you. Don't that look like a roulette table? Because if you think about it, right, this is what your consciousness is. It's a little white ball. And when your consciousness leaves this world and you die, it's just like a roulette ball, this little white ball is gonna pop out one triangle and fall into the next triangle pocket. When they talk about a great fall, that's because if you ever look at a roulette table, what happens to the white ball when it settles? It falls into a slot. And that's when you're being born. That's when, remember, when the white ball, which was the sperm cell, fell into the egg, that was no different than this roulette ball settling in a slot. And wherever the roulette ball fall at, that represent a certain place that becomes your zodiac information for your natal chart and all that. In each world, man, you got a different energy represented by a different pattern that the sky was in when you was born there. This is astrology for real. But check this out, right? That's like saying, depending on which one the white ball settle in, depend on what it manifests as. If the white ball fall in the 20 slot, it becomes a rapper. If it fall in 18, it becomes a pastor. If it falls in 15, it becomes an athlete. And they're just showing you that your consciousness is ring around the rosy. We all fall down. It's going around and then down once it rests and settles. And when the white ball settles into one of these triangles, that's when the consciousness seats itself into that body that's in that parallel world. See the white ball that's traveling around this wheel? It comes from the center. See, this white ball, this entire wheel that we looking at, that's your God brain. What do you mean by your God brain, Sanchez? This entire wheel is the brain of God. And when they say you lost your mind, it's because God left his throne. Let me show you what the mind looked like. Let me show you something real quick. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm finna break it down. So check this out. Here go the brain cut open. I just found the quick one real quick. Right here. Now, all of your neural highways is branching out from this white hole in the middle. This white hole in the middle of our brain, it represents the North Pole. That's where the soul exits the body at. And see, all of the neural highways are like time zones on an AE map. If they cut your brain open, you can see the whole AE map. Look at here. This little circle in the middle of the wheel, that's heaven. That's the way out of time. That's the kingdom of heaven is within. This bright light right here, that's the gateway to the highest heaven and up out of time. But what I'm trying to tell you is on a fractal level, this entire universe is the mind of God. When we say that the entire universe is the mind of God, you are a God in a higher realm that is asleep, dreaming this whole shit. Therefore, it's all your mind. It's the mind of God. And man is God asleep, and God is man awake. Now watch this, right? In the middle of this wheel, that's the seat of the soul. That's the throne of God. But see, God ain't on his throne. God left heaven, and God, just like Jesus, is just a mortal man journeying in the outside earth realms, which is what we see Buddha doing out there. He out there manifesting as different versions, right? He's manifesting as different versions of himself in different parallel realities. And each of these parallel realities were born from the central true reality. But when Buddha finally returns back to the middle of the wheel, that's to say that God's consciousness has returned and now reseating itself at the throne back in heaven. So your God body, your real self that's in heaven sleep, it lost its mind. And what does its mind look like? A little ball of light. And when God literally lost his mind in heaven, he forgot who he was and became a human in the earth. But God is basically trying to regain consciousness or the knowledge of God, the knowledge of self that you're God. So basically, you look at this wheel. All of us started in the middle circle as a ball of light. We didn't have a body in Eden. It was just a pure ball of light. We only got the bodies because we left Eden, and our consciousness fell into these avatars that exist around Eden, our earthly manifestations, right? And once we can go all the way around the wheel and complete our entire cycle of reincarnations, like what the sun doing, the sun is making this same journey, y'all. The heavens is telling the story of all of the gods. Do you hear me? That's right. The heavens are telling the story of the journey of our souls, man. Ain't that beautiful? Ain't that crazy? Now watch this, right? Once God explores each of the layers of himself in time, he returns back to the middle world with all of the knowledge of all of these incarnations in him. With all that knowledge, man, from all of these lifetimes, he gonna take and have it in one body. No wonder God. I can see now why God is so dope. Because God is getting all, think about what's making God God. God is a being that is all knowing, all powerful. What is power? Knowledge. Knowledge is power. Where is God getting all his power from? From all that knowledge. Okay, where is God getting all that knowledge from? God got to work for that knowledge. God got to get off that throne. God can't just sit on a throne all day and be bougie. That's what the Bible lied to y'all. That's right. You think God just sit on a throne all day doing nothing? God ain't just sitting on that throne sleeping. He's dreaming. God working. God is asleep and he's out there working in the outer world to gain knowledge. And that's some hard work. That's some very hard work. Trying to extract knowledge from out of all of these dumbass worlds. That's so hard. It's possible to live your entire lifetime in one of these worlds and learn nothing. All of these worlds are ignorant and they promote stupidity and they hoping you never wake up, God. But God still gonna wake up because that's God. God just that nigga. No way you gonna stop God. You may hinder him a while, but every one of y'all gonna wake up now. But the thing is this right here though. God ain't got, people think God got shit easy. And when you realize all of us are gods and goddesses and that our power wasn't given to us, it was earned through lifetimes, through experience. So this is what the Hindu taught. They taught get out. How do you get out? You extract all of yourself from each of these worlds. What does that look like? It looked like a soul coming into a world hungry for knowledge. The only kind of power in these worlds is knowledge, y'all. Anything else you collect in these worlds ain't gonna get you to your next destination. The universe don't respect the shit we respect, like cars, clothes, money. The universe looks at knowledge like currency. In the universe eyes, the man with the most knowledge of the spirit matters. It's the richest. It's a different economic system that governs the unseen world. And if you really want wealth, if you really want to store up wealth, then you do that with moral acts of good. Because nothing you save, you're going to keep here. The only thing that you're going to keep forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever is the good deeds, the experience that you receive from good acts of kindness and good moral deeds. You keep that with you forever. The experience you gain, not just from good acts, but from bad acts. Don't misinterpret me now. The only thing you get to keep is the knowledge that you gain from your experience in this realm. You don't get to keep nothing else. So, in that sense, you have a lot of religious systems like what we see. For example, we born in a capitalistic world. So we don't understand the concept of what I just said. Anytime you speak against materialism to capitalistic people, they get in their feelings. But if you were in Hindu somewhere up in Tibet in the Himalayas, they'll already know what page you own. They ain't got a lot of attachments. I didn't even see the super chat. Let me give a shout out to Dolph Obama. Dolph Obama, I really appreciate the love, man. He said, much love, bro Sanchez, and to the show. Thank you, man. And I also want to acknowledge Hydrogen. Appreciate y'all. And thanks everyone who's in attendance. Like and share the video. It'll help the channel a lot. I want to go back to our friend over here. His name, Morg Official. And why I queued this video up is because I want to show you guys something. Everything we do when it comes to Kabbalah, astrology, astronomy, and all that is based upon ancient flat earth knowledge and a 360-degree geocentric system that I just explained. Now, if you want to do Kabbalah, if you want to do astrology, and if you want to do astronomy, but you don't want to acknowledge that ancient system that gave us all of this, you're going to run into a lot of problems. And I just presented a lot of problems showing you how the zodiac is not heliocentric. This is why the people who teach all about the globe, they just throw out astrology altogether. That's right. Think about what I'm telling y'all. Everything that the globe earthers teach is based upon the sexagesimal math of 360 degrees. But yet they got 365 days in a year. And because of that, they get irregularities that don't add up. Because they're trying to use the ancient system for mathematical convenience and apply it to the modern model. It's just not going to fit. Because this system was based upon 360 days, and this one is based upon 365 days. This system is based upon the sky and the earth being a perfect circle, and this one is based upon the earth not being a perfect circle and elliptical orbits. But the reason why nothing can fit this model is because this model ain't based on reality and this one is. So the perfect math is supporting a perfect creation. That's right. We live in a perfect creation based upon 360. And that's why they use 360, but they don't want to admit that that's right. So why would you use it? Oh, we just use it for mathematical convenience. But if it's wrong, how convenient can that be? So because no one want to respect the ancestors that gave us the Kabbalah, that gave us calendars and systems and timekeeping, that gave us natal charts and zodiac wheels, since we don't want to respect those people, and we don't want to admit that the earth was flat and that the ancients was right, when we play with their symbols, when we play with their tools, like what this dude doing with the Kabbalah, you gotta lie on the ancients, and you gotta force this to apply to your heliocentric mentality, and it don't. The only way you can fit this to the globe is to throw out astrology and throw out the beautiful math and the way the sky work and all that I just showed y'all. And here is an example of a globe earther that's trying to teach Kabbalah, but since Kabbalah is geocentric and is based upon the 7 wandering stars moving around the earth, because this entire tree right here is the earth, right? You see it? Let's zoom in on here. Here's the Kabbalah tree. And the earth is in the middle. Let's zoom in. Zoom in on that. Here go the earth right here in the middle of the tree. So earth is not gonna be one of these little circles on the tree. Earth is the tree. Earth is the tree. Everything else is going around the earth. So it's 7 of them. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 circles going around the earth, which is the tree. Now let's go back here. Here go the tree. And here go the 7 things. We need to look at here. You see? All of these. It's 7 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each one is a chakra that's governing your spiritual energy. Each one of these chakras is connected to a whole nother you that's living out a reality in a parallel reality. So the reason why that particular planet is able to affect your energy on an astrological level is because it's basically the influence of another you in a parallel reality. It ain't like, well, Mercury causing me to act this way. It ain't that Venus making me act this way. It's that the other you that is living out his life in Venus, that energy sometimes align close to you here, and you can be influenced by that version of you in that parallel reality. Everyone's version in each parallel reality has similar energy because it's being influenced by the frequency of that star. So that's the foundation of astrology. That's why a person can say, you know, Mercury affects communication. And I can say, yeah, me too. It's universal because that parallel reality that we call in Mercury, somehow in that world, it's further away from the sphere that governs talking and communication, because each chakra is a different aspect of reality, sets energy, communication energy, even food. So if certain alignments take place, there can be droughts and famines on earth. That's astrology. See, a prophet would have told you a famine coming up, it's going to be less crops this year, and they can see a certain alignment coming into place, and they would know when this particular alignment take place under this particular star, we get less crops. And that's just the influence of a parallel reality. Each parallel reality have a strength and a weakness. So when we're being influenced by any one of these bodies, it ain't just when people say, well, Mercury gonna affect communication negatively. Well, look at the things Mercury affect positively. Mercury allows us, if you ever read up on it, Mercury is also got something to do with organizational skills. So during Mercury retrograde, people organize and all that. They finished projects or whatever that they didn't complete and all that. Shout out to Tangible Energy. Thank you for the support. So think about that. Every planetary body is going to affect us negatively and positively. And that's because each you in every parallel realities have a strength and a weakness that it got to work on. So each of these planets, there's a whole nother you there with its own little energy. And when during certain alignments, you're feeling the energy of another you. And you can do this when you dream too. When you dream and you go to these other worlds and you in your other body, you're feeling the energy of this other you in that world. He's slightly different than the you here. So when you wake up, you can compare the energies and you can say, hey, the me here has a slightly different vibe than the me that I was in this particular world over here. It was me, but it was a different kind of me. You know what I'm saying? So each one of these worlds is manifesting you under its own influence and own frequency, affecting how you manifest in each world. And because all of these are connected, these alignments can affect you when certain parallel realities are aligned in proximity with us. And that's basically the whole foundation of astrology and the science of how these heavenly bodies affect us. But what I'm going to show you here is a person that's trying to deal with the Kabbalah, but the people that created the Kabbalah were flat earthers. They were Gnostics, real Gnostics, not the New Age ones like him. No disrespect. But they still silencing the real Gnostics. That's why he's growing fast, because if you are trying to apply the ancient concepts to the modern globe model, they gonna push that, because that is what the Masons that's what they've been trying to do. Ever since the beginning of heliocentrism, they've been trying to apply these ancient concepts to their model. They created the celestial sphere by taking a sky map and just covering a globe with the sky map, but it won't cover it fully. And because it don't cover it fully, people say, well, on a globe, people see different stars in different hemispheres. No, they don't. We all share the same zodiac wheel, and we've been sharing it for eons. Everyone on this earth share the same 12 constellations. But people at the bottom of the globe would have a different set than people at the top. You can take a circle and try to force it over a basketball, but it'll never completely cover it. Therefore, the zodiac wheel will only be visible on one portion of the globe. And they say that. They actually say that. They say, hey, man, if the earth was flat, people will see the same stars everywhere. Ha, ha, ha. Guess what, dummy? They do, you big dummy.
Stupid.
They do, you big dummy. They do. You see what I'm saying? So I'm going to play the video, and what you're going to see is what happens when globe heads try to deal with ancient flat earth stuff that don't fit their model. They got to lie. Watch this.
These energies within ourselves, we need to balance our intuition with our left brain thinking and right brain thinking, with our willpower and empathy and
those are the 7 chakras, each one he touching. It's a 7 hermetic principles. It's dealing with gluttony, greed, the 7 energies within you that you got to overcome. See how simple it is? These New Agers, they are overly complicated. It's muddy the waters, and this is what the algorithm push. Because it's like talking to an astrophysicist. You think because you don't understand what they saying, you just learned something, and they smart. You don't understand it because they really don't know what they talking about, because none of it apply to their paradigm and their cosmological viewpoint. Watch this, I'll prove it.
memory and our ability to set boundaries and understand things logically and to have a connection to our higher self and have an experience of divinity and be connected to our higher self. So our egoic identity is not our true identity, but rather is in service to the higher self. And then this all gets actualized in our actions. Malkut, the very
Now, he think he going in, but he don't know he's dealing with cosmology, and that's the spinal cord, and it's showing the energies that govern our emotional body. What builds the emotional body is these 7 energy vortexes orbiting around the spinal cord. And when they orbit the spinal cord, they create an aura. That's how you get your aura. Your aura is literally a bubble that's made out of all your chakras orbiting around you. This is the solar system. When they say all of the planets going around the sun, no. Everything is orbiting you, and all of the lights that's orbiting you is your spiritual energy reflected outward. It's like the end of your neurons. Because when scientists study our neurons, the neurons got open endings that just don't connect to nothing. That has baffled scientists for years, but not ancients. Ancients said your neural endings have open endings that appear to not connect to nothing, but what's coming out of that hole is light. That's how you get Medusa with all the serpents in her head. Your neurons are like little wires that's connected to the seat of the soul, right? And all of those wires that are connected to this little ball in the middle of your brain, they are going outward, from the mind in the middle. But when they reach the skull, they just stop. And it folds back in and start making this whole labyrinth that we call the brain and all that good stuff. But here's the thing. If you look at a person's, let me show you what a neuron is. I want you to see it real quick. Neurons are the branches of the tree of life. And the spinal cord is the trunk. Let me show you. All of these little wires, these are connectors. And they connect the soul to the simulation. And there's so many neurons connected to your consciousness because each one that's connected to your consciousness have to go and then connect to a parallel you in another world. You get what I'm saying? Let me go to the whiteboard and simplify it even more. This is your neural network. This is you right here. This is you. You're in the middle of the universe, right? Let's just put the flat earth right here. You in the middle of the earth. All of the planets, let's give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's just say it's 7 wandering stars. And inside of your head is your third eye, right here. That's the seat of your soul, your crown. This is your mind. This is the little white ball of light that I'll be showing y'all. From this white ball of light, you're connected in a network. Does this look familiar? It looked like Medusa. It looked like the Statue of Liberty. It looked like the Indians with the feathers on their head because they was teaching this. Jesus with the crown of thorns. You're connected to all of the kingdoms in heaven. In my Father's kingdom are many mansions. The kingdom of heaven is within. It's a network. What is a net? A nut. The dome. It's a network. Your pineal gland is the connection to the ethers. Your neurons are these little tentacles right here that's connecting this to that. That's what neurons are. They're connectors. They are allowing us to create a network of our own self. So look, that's how we dream. Listen, when he goes to sleep, he can shift his consciousness to this world and keep living. And when he ready to come back here, boom, he wake up and tell us about what he saw in the dream world, in the parallel reality. He go to other worlds, right? From this one body as a projection point. You're your own network of selves. Now look. What we're about to witness is a globe earther try to teach what I just taught. But since they're a globe earther, it ain't gonna make no sense. And he gonna say something so blasphemous that I'm warning you right now, is gonna piss you off. But don't be mad, because guess what? Everybody don't know everything, man. You learn what you learn from people, and you keep it moving.
Bottom, Earth is where this is all our psyche, personal unconscious here, collective unconscious here. The above the abyss is collective unconscious.
Now see, he just said that that entire tree is Earth, and it represents our consciousness. See, I'm in agreement on that. That's true. I just said that. But watch, keep listening.
Below the abyss is personal unconscious, and then the very bottom, Malkuth, is the realm of action. It's your behavior. So you imagine that all of these are in different levels of alignment, right? Like someone might be super logical and have no desire or love, and then this one's going to be.
He's giving you basically the foundation of astrology, and he's letting you know how these planetary bodies affect our behavior. I was just going into that. But he's gonna shoot himself in the foot. Keep listening.
Be way out of whack. That's gonna make their actions and behavior different than someone who's super balanced. So the idea here is to not let the planets control you, but rather that you are able to be the governor of your internal solar system, your internal planetary world. These planets aren't about literal planets in the sky. They're symbols for.
Did you hear him? These planets are not about literal symbols or literal planets in the sky. They're just symbols. And that's where he's lying at. Our ancestors did not make no vain symbols. Our ancestors made symbols based upon real shit. But he don't know that because he think he live on a globe. So he'll agree that these planets affect our energy. He'll agree that the energy real and that the symbol is real, but he don't believe in the planetary body. Why wouldn't you? I'll tell you why. Because if he admit that the planets on this Kabbalah tree is real, he would have to be admitting geocentrism and flat earth. That's right. And it don't make sense for you to tell me astrology works. Everything the ancestors said about astrology is real. Those planets do affect your energy, but they was wrong about the nature of those planets. It ain't nothing really up there physically that they was accounting for. They was just making vain symbols and associating them with energy. And that's a lie. It's a reason why it's 7 of those spears and it's 7 wandering stars. He got to say, what you're saying is that the 7 wandering stars aren't real. They aren't literal. And you're lying. Each 7 chakras corresponds to a planet, bro. That's right. This shit is real and it ain't just symbolic. But they love to play with the ancients like that. They've been doing that for years. They pick and choose what they want from the ancestor stuff, and then what they don't want, they say, don't take that serious. That's just symbolic. And the pastors do that with the Bible too. Everything they want out the Bible to make their little doctrine, they take that. Anything that don't go along with what Pastor Pokechock want, he said, but the Bible don't mean that literally. That's right. All right, that's just symbolic. They love to hit you with that. And I'd be like, bro, if you gonna take any of that shit literally, you gotta take all of it literally. And if you gonna say some of it symbolic, all of it symbolic. And that's the truth. All of the Bible is symbolic. That's right. And you gotta decode the whole book, not just some of it. You can't say, well, Jesus really got up from the dead. Jesus walked on water. But hold up, this part ain't literal. That's just symbolic. No, we ain't gonna play them games. We gonna be consistent. And they do that in the New Age community too. They pick and choose with the ancestor stuff. That's right. They like to pick around the ancestor stuff like what the pastors do with the Bible. They say, well, look, I'll take that, I'll take that, I'll take that. But hey, that flat earth shit, leave that over there. And you can't do that, man. That's right. You got to take that flat earth stuff too, because if you don't, you're going to end up being a charlatan, gate guard, and you ain't going to really be teaching the whole truth about the shit. That's right. And that's just hypocritical to say that, well, the ancestors didn't mean this shit literally. Okay, so the ancestors wasn't talking about literal heavenly bodies, but yet our energy still being affected by the sign that governs that planet. You telling me symbols that ain't attached to nothing real can affect my energy? That's witchcraft, nigga. Astrology ain't witchcraft. Once you tell me these symbols can really affect my energy, then you turn around and say the symbol ain't really connected to a literal planet. But astrology is real. And this shit does affect you. Wait a minute, bro. If the symbol wasn't connected to something real, it wouldn't have a real effect on me. That's common sense. That's right. You're saying that the ancestors just invented some damn random symbols. And after they did that, those symbols had the power over our emotions?
Stupid.
Our ancestors created random symbols so they can have a symbol for different emotional frequencies. And when they created the symbols, that's when we start being bound by the energy that the symbol represents. Did some just click in your head? Let me break it down for you. We was bound by these astrological frequencies and energies before we even had symbols to represent them. That's right. Which proves that there's something really in the sky that's affecting our energy, and it ain't just the symbol. Which is stupid to say, but you gotta say that when you want to pick and choose. You can't take you got a lot of new age imposters, right? They want to make money off astrology, but astrology is geocentric. They want to make money off of the Kabbalah. They want to play with all of the ancestral stuff, but they don't want to take geocentrism with it. And they end up being fake, man. It breaks my heart. I'm going to rewind that so y'all can hear that again, man.
experience of divinity and be connected to our higher self. So our egoic identity is not our true identity, but rather is in service to the higher self. And then this all gets actualized in our actions. Malkut, the very bottom, earth is where this is all our psyche, personal unconscious here, collective unconscious here. The above the abyss is collective unconscious, below the abyss is personal unconscious. And
what I'm tripping off though, you got a coin that represent the moon, you got a coin that represent the sun. How you gonna you got folks looking at the sun and the moon on a Kabbalah tree, but yet you telling them the symbols is real, but the planet ain't? Now they all say that they got 7 planets on a globe model. He ain't denying the existence of the planets. Let me be clear. What he's denying is the nature of the heavenly bodies according to the ancestors. But he's accepting the idea that these planets affect us on an energy level. And he's not the only one that does this. And it is so fucking shady. Listen.
And then the very bottom, Malkut, is the realm of action. It's your behavior. So you imagine that all of these are in different levels of alignment, right? Like someone might be super logical and have no desire or love. And then this one's going to be way out of whack. That's going to make their actions and behavior different than someone who's super balanced. So the idea here is to not let the planets control you, but rather that you are able to be the governor of your internal solar system, your internal planetary world. These planets aren't about literal planets in the sky. They're symbols for forces within you. Rather, that's your intellect, your desire, your ego.
These planets are not literal forces in the sky. They are symbols for your energy. If my energy is literal and there's a planet represented by a symbol to explain what energy they talking about, because it's 7 foundative energies that govern man, and they got 7 hermetic principles. They got a bunch of different spiritual systems to help us get control over each one or whatever. Now, a lot of them systems is corrupted today. They like new age. So I say do your own research and do it from the foundation of flat earth, and you can't go wrong. Don't take advice from people that don't have a foundation of ancestral cosmology, because they can only lead you but so far. If you want to fully reconnect back with the people that gave us this, then you got to be willing to be laughed at and say the earth flat and all that. This shit ain't free. If you want this information, it comes with a price. And that price is embarrassment and mockery. Now, people want this information, but they don't want what comes with it. But now listen here.
Your intuition, your memory and empathy, will and justice, as well as setting boundaries, your higher self, connection, aspects of your psyche that you learn to master and balance. So your behavior, because each of these are associated with that as well. Like each of psychologically in terms of the soul and organizing the patterns in your soul. Not about literal planets, not about literal gods, not about literal angels.
And that's where he's wrong at. It's about literal energy that is influencing us, and that energy is being projected from literal heavenly bodies in the sky, bro. That's right. Like, again, for you to maintain a globe earth ideology, but you want to teach astrology, is bananas to me. It don't make no sense. It don't make no sense. Shout out to Flat Erie. Oh my God. You want to teach people about how energies affect them astrologically. But the people who taught us this wasn't talking about real planets. But these symbols are what's affecting you. They was just basically, what he's saying is that they was turning energies into symbols. And that ain't true. They was turning planets into symbols based upon what energy the planet gave off. It got a symbol to fit it. If you look at the visual symbol of a planet, and you can, if we had some kind of equipment to let you feel the resonant vibrational energy of a star, and I did an experiment, right? If I put you in the room and showed you the symbol of Mercury, and I beamed a vibration into the room or a sound that was in alignment with the vibration of Mercury, the sound would fit the image. For example, like if I play scary music and I show you a beautiful rose garden, your brain gonna be confused. But if I play scary music and I show you a creepy graveyard, your mind is make perfect sense. The sound must match the image. Sound and image go hand in hand. Every sound is an image, and every image is a sound. Every symbol that you see can be heard, and every frequency you hear can be seen. And we can't separate the two. But in New Age globalism, heliocentrism, they do just that. If you see, the thing about it, these energies that's coming from the heavens are real. They're coming from certain planetary bodies in orbit. That's how astrology works. And then not only that, the ancestors would tap into a frequency of that, would tap into the frequency, of a particular luminary, and they will create a symbol that is a reflection of the sound. So now you would have a visual and sonar data to represent a thing, and that's no different than every human. We have a visual representation of you, which is your body. But we also have an audible representation of you, which is your voice, your vibration, your heartbeat. We got a mathematical representation of you, which can break down into a number that represents you. Right? We can define and label you based upon your frequency, which expresses itself visually, audible, and many more ways. So biometric identification systems is evolving to that point now. That can be a sound that represent you, a little note. And when played, it can pull up your fingerprint, everything about you, because everything in the universe is its own unique audible sound as well. That's important. That's why Tesla was telling us the key to understanding the universe is understanding sound and vibration. He was telling us to get into cymatics. But cymatics is how our ancestors made these symbols. They didn't make random symbols. They turned the frequency of an idea or a concept of a star into a cymatic shape that corresponds to it. So they didn't make vain symbols. They didn't make signs and symbols that weren't linked to nothing that was real, right? They didn't make vain symbols.
Not about literal demons, because each of these are associated with that as well. Like each of
See, because what he just did, he throwed angels, demons, and planets in the same box.
Stupid.
Now, we can deny the existence of angels and devils, but we can't deny the existence of planetary bodies that affect us astrologically, especially when you're trying to teach what he's teaching right here. He got to tell you, hey, each of these coins literally corresponds to a real planetary body in the sky. Remember now, if you look at the coins,
there's symbols for forces within you. Rather, that's your intellect, your desire.
He's saying it ain't literal, but he got one for the sun and moon, which is freaking interesting.
Control you, but rather that you are able to be
So you would think he would know, listen, bro, why would the ancestors create the Kabbalah, which is damn near, you wouldn't have astrology without Kabbalah. It's like one and the same. One could argue that Kabbalah is its own astrological system of tracking the 7 luminaries and how they're revolving around the central point or the earth. But watch this, right? What's crazy is that a person will deal with this literal when it comes to the symbols corresponding to certain energies that affect you. But they'll say, but they didn't mean this was really true, that the planets in this system is real. It's only the symbols and energy. And what that does, it take away the divinity of how all this literally connects to the earth and reality. It makes it kind of obsolete, because what it is, it's supposed to be as above, so below. But what he does, he takes away the as above, and he tell you this doesn't connect to nothing in the heavens. It's just symbolic. And they love to play the ancients like that, because once we say this stuff connect to the heavens, we ain't talking about just a bunch of magic and mysticism now. We're talking about a mechanical instrument. We're saying that the earth is literally a spiritual machine that's real, and that the 7 wandering stars aren't just abstract concepts. They are literal mechanisms that's doing something to you right now. It makes this shit real. You see what I'm saying? Because when we deal with these ancient concepts, it's always symbolic and folkloric and mythological. If people knew that the earth was flat, they would know that this ain't shit to play with. That this is real spiritual technology that is applicable to instruments and mechanisms, equipment that's in the sky. We would look at reality different. You wouldn't see the stars as just abstract gestures and symbols. You will see them as mechanisms that's connected to a machine that's actually doing something to you. And you will ask questions like, well, how do I control this part of the mechanism? What does this button do? How do I operate the machine and make it do this? We will now start speaking technically, and there will be no more separation between science and spirituality or technology and religion. We can see that all of these ancient concepts weren't just spiritual gestures, and that the spiritual concept embodied in these symbols is a real thing that exists in your reality. This is real, man. That'll open us up, bro. We'll realize we are the fucking characters in the book that we're reading about, and we're counting ourselves out. People look at the ancient stuff like a joke. Like, it's just symbolic. Don't take it literally. And I'm like, bro, you better take all of that literally. They even say that about the flat earth. They'll say the ancients didn't really think the earth was flat. They was literally trying to make a 2-dimensional map of the world, because it's impossible to see all of the continents at one time on a globe. You see what I'm saying? So what they doing to hide all this ancient truth, they're making it like the ancestors was just being symbolic, right? The ancestors didn't really mean that way, right? And they rewriting history and taking away the awe, taking away the, like, this shit is well crafted. It's based upon perfect math. The instruments in the sky, like these heavenly bodies, this is advanced spiritual technology. They don't want us to see the world like that, you know?
Governor of your
So that's something I want to point out here, and then we can move on. That's it for that. I got another portion of the show. This is gonna be the last segment, and what I want to break down in this segment is basically some her story to his story information about the goddess. I've been teaching about the mother goddess for a long time. What is the mother goddess? She was the first archetype that represented the North Pole. And why do we want to represent the North Pole? It's Jacob's ladder. It's the stairway to heaven. And the reason why it was represented by the goddess is because we're born through the mother. So when you die and they say, well, you're going to see a white light in the sky. And that white light, when you go through that, you're going to come out on the other side in the hospital in a higher parallel reality being born. So the white light that people see upon death, if they travel into it, is them going to be born. They're coming out their mother's womb. In another word, your mama in a hospital with her legs open. And the white light that a soul is seeing upon death is literally them shifting realities and being born again through the mother, through the great mother. When they changed this archetype to Christ, then you had a bunch of men saying you're going to be born through them. And we know that it wouldn't apply to the male. But watch this, right? We don't got to go into a lot about the shift from goddess to God. So, because I got a lot of work already talking about that, and you can explore the channel, you will find it. You can check out the Her Story to His Story series. I just wanted to give us a brief rundown, and it'll come from this portion here, and then we'll go into some syncretism. Between roughly, I don't deal with the times, right? I deal with, because you can't really be accurate on that, but coinciding with the rise of warrior kings, empires, and territorial states, and this happened with the rise of hunting and massive agriculture. That's dominated by males. Before that, when people was having personal, basically everyone planted what they eated in their family, the mothers ruled basically in a world where we were gatherers and gardeners. And they wrote this place of time out of history. There was a time they like to talk about hunter-gatherers. They don't talk about before hunting, we was just gathering. That's the Garden of Eden. We didn't hunt the animals. And we were vegan. And that means we were just gatherers. You gathered fruits and nuts and all that. And then we became hunters later when we learned when we found fire, which is what they teach us too, because you couldn't eat raw meat, but you can eat raw fruit, raw vegetables. Now my thing is this right here. When we started to make slaughterhouses and hunt and eat more meat, we started to rely more on men to govern the society and to distribute the resources in it. So before that, everyone had these heavenly matriarchal cultures where everyone had a reverence for the womb that they came out of. But you had earth mothers, and they were replaced with sky fathers, sky daddies. But first you had earth mamas. They was down here on earth with you. When they created God, God was this bougie ass entity that ruled you from light years away because you too dirty. God don't want to get a stain on his white robe. And remember, God got a gate around his kingdom because he don't want no filthy humans breaching his property. So God got a gate around his property like what your neighbor got. And God got security guards and gate guards saying, check who that is knocking at the door. Right? So this concept of God you got ain't a true concept of the real creator. It's a false concept the church gave y'all to make God operate like a man. That's God operating like a man with gates and shit and security guards, but he's supposed to be all powerful. So my thing is, the Sky Fathers gave humanity a new concept of the creator that distanced the creator from us and put so much. They say, well, we separated from God by a bunch of light years because heaven is beyond space. How far away is that? So when they say, well, we separated from God, they like to say what is in between us and God. I'll answer it in my own words. Bouginess, nigga, a bunch of Grey Poupon. That's the world we live in. God is so rich, he can't be around you broke motherfuckers. Just like that's a concept of capitalism. Right? When I get rich, I move to the house on a hill, the house on a mountain far away from y'all goyim. That's God, that's the God mind. But that's the false God. That's the God of capitalism. That's the one of ego that we gotta conquer. That's why the Sky Father, he got to be far away from you in the sky. But the Earth Mother is right here. Earth Mother, not Sky Mother. Earth, but down to earth. She right here with you. Right there by your side. Not a God way up there. You got, God, if you get this prayer, if it lands on your desk today, I know you take your time. So basically what I want to share with you is that we used to have a concept of a goddess and they turned it into the patriarchal gods. If you follow me on Facebook, I'll show you my Facebook page. It sums up the sacred geometry perfectly on my page. Let me show you. This is what I got on my page right there when you go to it. It show you how we went from worshiping the womb and teaching about the portal where all life come from to now male chauvinism and patriarchy with Christ. But the sacred geometry is still there. Like the sacred geometry of the womb, they never changed that. And that's what I'm about to show y'all today. So if you look at this sacred geometry, I'm going to show you another version of it right here. This is a goddess called Aditi. And if you look at Aditi, let me show you some about Aditi. Shout out to AD. Welcome, man. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard the family. Here is the goddess Aditi. And the reason I want to show you Aditi, because she got 3 heads, right? And those 3 heads are basically right here. Remember when they said Jesus was in between 2 thieves? That'll give him 2 more heads. It'll make your 3 heads. And basically, them 3 heads are these 3 points right here. This ovary, that ovary, and then that's actually called a vajayjay, and it's called a canal right here. But yeah, you can see those 3 points right there. Jesus' head and his 2 arms, right? That's what the 3 heads of Aditi is. I'm about to go somewhere with this, right? I ain't just talking to talk. I always walk y'all right into the climax. Let me show you something. What I'm about to teach you now, well, I'm going to expose something. I'm going to expose plagiarization. And what I'm going to show you, right? Again, how they hid the goddess behind the patriarch. And how she morphed and evolved over time. So let's just say this here. That represents the yoni. That's the goddess with her hands up. They turned this to the devil. But the devil is the diva. All right, the diva. This is the Dogon great mother. She always raises her hands up like that. I'll show her to you in a minute. I'm finna go somewhere. I want y'all to stay with me. It may seem redundant now, but trust me, it's not. You can see the 3-point, you can see the trident. They demonize this. The devil is just another form of Christ, y'all. This trident was the first coming of Jesus. That's why I'm showing you the devil was God's son, set at the right hand, and he represent God first incarnation. Each time God cast down a being to the earth that manifests in the earth realm, it's just God's consciousness living out another lifetime. And God came the first time as the devil, the serpent that was lifted up by Moses, and the symbol was the trident. But it's still the same symbol with Jesus. If you look at Jesus, you can see the devil's trident. They just bending the arms out a little more to the cross, but I'll show it to you right here. You spread the arms out a little more, and you just get the cross. They didn't variate it that much. They just bent the arms down that way. They bent the arms down just a bit, and they bent it out into the cross, but it's still the trident. It still have those upper 3 points. Still the trident. How the diva became the devil, or the serpent that was lifted up in the wilderness, which is the first archetype of Christ. Now, why is this important when we talk about the trident? The reason we want to talk about the trident is because you see these three-headed archetypes. That's the goddess called Aditi. And the reason she got 3 heads is to represent what I'm showing you right here. She's personifying the womb. She's personifying the female womb. And that's why she get 3 heads. Her name is Aditi. Now I'm finna do what made me famous, right? Another way you spell Aditi is what? Adidas. Adidas. Y'all see what I just did to you? There go the goddess right there. I'm gonna show you how the corporations plagiarize our shit. So you see this symbol, it was very famous in hip hop. My Adidas. And this is the symbol of Adidas. And you can see 3 stripes below there because the goddess, she rides on top of the water like Brahma. You ever saw Brahma? Brahma is riding the water. Let me show him to you. If you take the B and the R off Brahma, you get Amma. Amma is the Dogon name for Adita. Her name is Amma to the Dogon. The same goddess. Her name is Amma. So Brahma is Amma, but it show you how the diva became the devil, which is the patriarch. Now, when you see this trident floating on top of water, it's right here. The water is the 3 stripes. And then the great mother floating on the water, her name is Adidas. Look. Let me take my screen off a minute. This is her name, Aditias. Adidas. And she's a 3-headed goddess. If you take this symbol and you turn it around, you will see the 3, the number 3 for the trident. Because what is the number 3? It's a trident. Look, that's the number 3. So that's what I'm saying. If you look at this symbol, this is the symbol for Adidas. If you flip it around, you get the trident. And the trident is how you get this symbol. So I know we like to think that corporations are creating new symbols and new stuff, but they tapping into our own Akashic records. The reason why certain stuff is so iconic to us is because it speaks to our subconscious. I've been trying to teach all this for years. It resonates with you and you don't even know why. You don't know why one shoe can be made out of the same exact material the other shoe made out of. Same price, same everything, but the logo can change the value of that shoe by thousands. And it can be the same exact shoe. They've done experiments on this. In some cases, the generic shoe was actually better quality than the name brand one. And people still want the name brand one. And the corporations know something about our mind that we don't know. They know how to tap into the part of our mind that remembers symbols. It's like a nostalgic part of us that says, I remember this, but I just saw it for the first time. Like, I shouldn't be having a feeling like I remember it. But certain logos, certain corporate brands are iconic to us. Even when you see it for the first time, it's like, oh yeah, that's Hennessy, that's Louis Vuitton. It seems aged well. It seems like it's stamped authentic. It has this sense of antiquity to it that resonates with us on an ancestral level. And that's because the corporations are using mental tactics to sell their products. Ain't nothing random. They don't just sit down and say, let's make a logo that looks good and that's flashy. No, they use science. They say, who are we trying to market this brand to? And if they say, oh, we trying to market it to this group of people, then guess what they do? They say, okay, let's learn what kind of spiritual systems and frequencies that their ancestors tapped into, and let's incorporate that into our brand logo, and it should resonate with that group of people and make them like our brand. So who love Adidas? The same people who loved Adidas. Just so happened. I'm going to say it again. The same people that love Adidas, they loved Adidas. But this a different Adidas. The same way that Adidas make you feel, it was the same way that the goddess made us feel, like fresh, new. You know when you fresh with a brand new pair of Adidas gear on, it's time to hit the club, and you feel fresh, you feel approved, you feel authentic. Because why? Nigga, this Adidas, you can't even play with me. I'm name branding like I got the Adidas on. It means something to us, right? It's a stamp of approval. And that was the authenticity that came with the Great Mother. In fact, they created the Great Seal based upon the womb, right? They created the family crest because every family had a seal to represent the bloodline, a family crest. That's based on the womb of the woman. Because when you talk about a country, it's dealing with the female womb. You can look it up. This based upon the uterus. Look at it. This based on the female womb. Let's pull it up. You see that? That's the uterus right there, man. Jesus in between the two thieves. Here it is right here. Same thing. So this was a seal of authenticity, like when niggas say, oh, that's my guy, he's stamped. He got the stamp of approval, because you can't pass through the Holy of Holies if you aren't authentic with the self. This is a spiritual journey. And the Holy of Holies was the womb of the Great Mother. If you allowed access through that, you can get fresh, like brand new clothes, and you enter the higher heavens, which is like you let me into the club. The line is long to get into the club, just like the movie Soul. So many souls lined up to get through that sky vault. And it's like people outside the club, man. They got their fresh gear on because they basically got a new body on. You put your new body on, and now let me in the club type shit. But see, I'm showing y'all how all of the energy evolved, or should I say de-evolved, to mundane rituals today that we are involved in. These are the spiritual resonant traces of old systems that meant so much more. And you may put your Adidas on and hit the club and think you ain't doing no harm. But if we rewind time and we see that these symbols had similar purpose that's getting watered down, right? For example, on a spiritual level though. Because what does Adidas represent? It represents fellowship into a club called hip hop. You see somebody with a full Adidas suit on with the shell toes on, you know that that's hip hop. And that's what I'm saying about higher infinite power healing our people. Hip hop is bullshit now. I ain't even dealing with the music industry. I'm talking about spiritual shit. Adidas is a goddess. And the frequency of that goddess is like everything hip hop should have been. Everything that, you know, if you tap into the energy of Adidas right here, the brand, but then go learn about the goddess that they took it from, Adidas, right? You will see what they tapping into. That's all I can tell you. So I just told you everything you need to know about the goddess, but you can do more extensive research on yourself. It's simple. It's simple. She represent renewal. Everything Christ represent, rebirth, a new glorified body. And to a spirit, to the ancients, the new body was looked at like a new outfit. You just got your new Adidas jumpsuit, boom. Now it's time to hit the club type shit. So that's what the goddess represents. She represented the gateway into a new world and a new me. You got to go through her. Like Christ said, you got to go through me. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if someone wanted to be hip hop back in the day, they had to go through Adidas. Like, the number one sign of me seeing that you hip hop from miles away is you rocking a bunch of Adidas and Kangos and shit like that. Because hip hop wasn't just in you, it was on you too. Right? And that's what I was saying about the goddess. These energies of these archetypes weren't just in us. We turned them into symbols and fashion statements and architectural art outside of us too. And we can still see that being practiced today. So I want to show y'all something here to show you how ancient stuff still lives on today, but in a corrupted form. In a corrupted form. Nothing from the ancient world is really lost. It just have de-evolved into a form that we don't recognize anymore. So here is another version of Adidas, but this come from the Minoans. So the Minoans created this form of Adidas. Everybody had this same goddess, but they had their own little versions of her. And so this one don't got 3 heads, but they got the arms in place of the 2 heads that's missing. So it still make our trident for the diva or the devil. And what happens when a person score a touchdown? The referee does his hands like this. Because what does it mean to touch down? To enter the Holy of Holies, which is represented by the goddess. So again, just another way to show you a lot of the stuff from the ancient world is still here today. It just means something different. You see what I'm saying? And so I would argue that a lot of the things we do are just rituals to help hide these things over generations. And you may say, well, a referee holding his hands up to say touchdown ain't doing no harm, but it actually rewrite history. So when they create certain sports, certain games, certain anything that they do, and there are certain rituals or traditions in it, they're using these traditions and rituals to hide their ancient meaning, right? So they may have us do a crazy tradition or a ritual, and we may do it for years and no one will know why we're doing it. People will just say, it's tradition, man. But it's really a trade-off, which is why the word tradition even got the root word trade. It's because we're trading an old way of viewing something with a new way of interpreting it. And the new way is to trade the tradition. You see what I'm saying? So you may think, man, we do it because it's a tradition. And we don't just do stuff because it's a tradition. All of the traditions and rituals are patterns of behavior that we can't stop doing. Put it this way, humans been on this earth, everything your ancestors did, you gonna do. It can't stop. They know that. They know that patterns in nature won't change over time if they that embedded into a people like our system of spirituality was. So what they do, they say, well, since we can't change these embedded patterns, we can reinterpret them, what they mean. And that's how you create religion. And you'll have a bunch of people doing patterns they don't understand, and they don't realize your ancestors was doing that same pattern and it had another meaning. They couldn't stop the pattern. They just changed the meaning and told you it ain't no meaning. It's just tradition. And when you say it's just tradition, that's a way of saying it don't have to have a meaning. It's just something we do because we've been doing it. And that's how you hide all of this deep stuff. It's a good way to hide this stuff. And you tell every future generation, hey, we're doing it because it's tradition and there's nothing else to see here. And no one, they'll never ask questions. And they will be partaking in the same actions that their ancestors did, but don't even know why they doing it. It's a tragedy, man. Here is another image of the goddess, and I'm showing you this to show you the evolution, like the Adidas symbol, how the trident evolved into the Adidas symbol. And when I tell you that it's such plagiarization, man, because they didn't even attempt to change the name, bro. They literally, somebody said, look, if you're gonna market this to that group of people, let's use the goddess. Like all of our ancestors revered the goddess. They turned the trident into some devil shit because that was our stuff. We were called the Nagas. And guess what the Nagas was? The serpent people. Why did they call us Nagas, niggas, the serpent people? Because our god or our archetype was a serpent. It was the Kundalini. All right. So your Kundalini energy is a serpent, is a sine wave. We was teaching the knowledge of the spirit, the Kundalini within everyone. And they called us the serpent people because we used the serpent as an archetype to show you how a sine wave goes up the spinal cord. Because imagine me trying to teach you how an invisible wireless signal is transmitted from an antenna in the year way back in the day. They didn't have all of that technical terminology, antennas and wireless transmission, but they had the technology. They didn't have the terms. So something like that'll come off as a serpent climbed up the tree to heaven and it flew away, right? So you'll see this winged serpent in a lot of cultures, and that's just them showing you a sine wave leaving an antenna, because the serpent is coming from the tower, from the obelisk or whatever. But it's a lot of technology being hidden because we taking this shit literally. But I just thought I'll show y'all how Adidas plagiarized this stuff here. Everything, even the name, because they didn't do nothing, but let me see what they did, because it's spelt with a Y. Let me go to it right here. Here it is right here. Adidas. Aditas. Or Aditi. But she got like a singular and plural form just like L. And her singular form is Aditi. And her plural form is Adidas. So they took the name of this goddess right here, and then they took the image of this goddess. Let's show that real quick. They took the image of this goddess right here. Here she go. That is Adidas. And then they turned her into this. And they kept the name, they just spelt it a little different, but they kept the goddess and just changed it to like because she sits on a lotus flower, but it's the same thing. The flower floating on the water, which would be a little stripe. So I had to give some mother goddess syncretism today. And that's pretty much all I got for y'all. On the next stream, we will pick up and talk more about the laser observation with Dan Gothals. And we will be reviewing a video of Chase Hughes, who did the experiment. And I ain't gonna lie, it's gonna be funny. I'm gonna roast him because this shit is a scam. I'm fully convinced that it's BS and there's another agenda to this. It's basically a hit piece on the simulation theory, because people really got a lot of facts and proof that we in a simulation, and this is just a bunch of junkies on DMT wasting time controlling the narrative. And you know, when Joe Rogan pick it up, it's a psyop. So we got to revisit the laser experiment. Be on the lookout for that. But that's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed the stream. I'm going to get back in the chat and see if there was any more super chats before I leave. And it is. Let me give a shout out to Thug Rob. Said, let's get a donating rally going on, man. I love y'all. Grab some on me, bros. Man, I appreciate that, man. Let me drop a bomb for everyone that hit the Cash App and for everyone that hit the super chat. And I forgot about you, Free Energy Frank. Thank you for your donation, Free Energy Frank. Let's drop a bomb for everybody for this awesome support. It ain't too late to support the show. If you're watching it on a replay, you can send a Cash App, or you can hit the super chat or super thanks. $ Bro Sanchez TV is the Cash App. We thank all of the Cash App donors. And we will respond to your Cash Apps. And if you sent me a message on a Cash App, I wrote it down because a sister wanted me to cover a particular topic here about, let me go to my notes. Yeah, I wrote it down. And I'll read these super chats if any come before we shut down. But I appreciate, man, everyone who viewed the show. But the sister wanted me to tell the difference between wow. Let me load up my notes. And I just wanted her to know I ain't forgot about that. I don't be capping about lecture requests, right? People have an idea for a lecture. Yeah. That she want to know the difference between Jesuits and Zionists. So we're going to talk about that, and I'm going to look into it and come back and do a stream. It's going to be titled that too. That's a good idea. But I just wanted to give a shout out to y'all, man. I appreciate y'all. It was a dope show. Be on the lookout for the next one. Thanks once again for all that y'all do to support. Peace and much love. Oh, I got another announcement that I almost forgot about. Later on tonight, I will be live on my beat channel. I got an artist channel I recommend y'all sub to it. Let me see. Let me see if I can share that link with you. Mods, can y'all share the link to my artist channel? Let's see. Let me see. I think I can find it real quick before we get out of here. Here we go right here. Go sub up to my artist channel, y'all. If you like the like I be cooking up beats live. So I play a lot of beats before the show and during the show, and people be vibing out to them. If you actually want to rock out with us, you know, I don't do much talking when I'm cooking up. It's my therapeutic space, but I will have streams where I'll talk. But yeah, if you interested in cook-ups, I was thinking about going live later, cooking up something, you know what I'm saying? So feel free to go and sub up to my beat channel, because I be over there all the time popping up randomly, cooking up the beats, and you can watch the whole process. Peace and